Hey everybody, it's Professor Hatch. This is take 2 of this video because apparently I took so long that the academic database timed out. So what we are going to do is evaluate academic study. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the whole thing so that we can go back and forth between a Word doc and the browser. This is the page, obviously, that this video is going to be on. This is the academic study critique. The whole point of this video is to show you how to evaluate an academic study to make sure it's not full of crap. Because when you're writing an academic essay, you want your information to be as error-free as possible. There's always human error, but the whole point of academic writing is to be sure that what we are saying isn't bullshit. And then to communicate the bullshit-free information that we are trying to get people to read. That might be an oversimplification, whatever, who cares? So this is the academic study critique assignment. This is an important skill, which is why it's worth 50 points. I want you guys to do this. Preferably, you'll have this done before we meet in class on Friday. But even if you can't get it done before then, please do this assignment because this is a very valuable skill to have, at least for the duration that you're in college. So it goes through everything to do here. Please, first it says, please go to the Finding and Evaluating Scholarly Sources page and watch the videos there. If you're watching this, you're doing that already. Then find a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. And it needs to have some of these items right here, but the most important parts are the methods and the results. Without those, if you've got an article that doesn't have those, you need to find a different article. You can't critique anything without those. I guess you could, but this makes it so much easier. In any case, and then you need to do all this other stuff, which we're going to go over. Excuse me. So if you'll recall, we found this article called Restorative Justice and the School to Prison Pipeline. And I am just going to open up this PDF here, and then I'm going to see if I can go back and, yeah. All right, so we've got the PDF open in a tab here. And then this is the EBSCOhost listing for the article. And down here is actually a nice HTML version of it, which I just want to, I'm going to use this. It's easier to read this. This is the journal it appeared in. Clearly, this is a hard copy journal with all the same information here. This is easier to read for the purposes of this video. In any case, also, there's a really neat thing up here that'll read it to you, which I absolutely use that whenever I can. So we've got this article. This is, I slightly changed the ABIB example that I made, and I gave it a new heading for academic study critique because this is a different assignment. I left the references page listing for the article up at the top because this assignment requires that right here. I pasted all this junk from the assignment page, so it's just in the Word doc and we don't have to constantly go back and forth. This is something I do all the time when I'm working on these things. Okay, so find an article from a scholarly peer-reviewed journal. Done. We've already done that. It has a method section, it has a results section, or outcomes or whatever. I'm going to get rid of this because we've done it. And it says, once you found an article, you need to write down the following. The listing you'd include for a references page on an essay. Done. A brief description of the article that includes the following. Who conducted the study, where it was conducted, very brief summary of the methods, and what were the findings. So this part, admittedly, is going to be a little bit boring. And if you feel the need to, slide the progress bar in the YouTube video, that's fine. I'm not going to be offended. But I'm going to go to this article. The authors are listed up here. Felipe and Donna, Sarah. Cassandra. In any case, these are the, I talk about them as though I know them. These are the authors up here. That's who conducted this. So, oh, actually, it's probably listed right up here as well. Yeah. I don't know if we can copy this or not. Sometimes copying off a PDF is not easy, but let's go back over here. Just type that in. Hey, look at that. So Felipe Ignacio Agadello. I'm probably really destroying that name. Donna Cole, Sarah Gallant, and Cassandra maybe are the articles, are the authors of this article. Going back over here. This article develops a restorative justice framework, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to read all of this. This framework theorizes that a focus on the three major strategies will challenge institutional racism in school as a determinant of the disciplinary inequity that students of color experience. This framework further theorizes that addressing institutional racism through these specific and related strategies will result in three major outcomes that can decrease racial and ethnic disproportionality in the school to prison pipeline. All right. So we've got a description of the problem, youth criminalization and restorative justice in schools. We've got the method. Okay. So let's look at this method. For the development of this framework, a review of both the RJ and school to prison pipeline, restorative justice and school to prison pipeline literature was concluded. The search was limited to peer-reviewed articles and focused on works published within the past January 2000 through March 2020, 20 years. Search terms were used in different combinations. For example, restorative justice, discipline gap, minority, race, ethnicity, school to prison pipeline, school discipline, school punishment. Databases used for this project were Academic Search Ultimate, APA Psych Articles, APA Psych Info. I'm just going to say CIN, I'm just going to spell it, CINAHL, whatever that is, Complete Communication and Mass Media Complete, Eric, Gale Academic One File, High Online JSTOR Journal, Social Sciences Citation Index, and SocIndex. This project analyzed and operationalized the aforementioned literature to explore whether restorative justice had the potential to reduce racial/ethnic disproportionality in the STPP. It began by identifying the most common restorative justice and school discipline strategies used to reduce the STPP. This work draws on the literature on restorative justice and the school to prison pipeline to provide a framework in which restorative justice techniques could affect the racially and ethnically disproportionate disciplinary outcomes in schools. Okay, so that's the method used. So what they're saying is they looked at a crap load of articles from a crap load of sources, and they searched for these various terms. Cool. And by the way, when I ask you to write an essay and I ask you to like include a source outside sources, like I don't know, the research paper certainly is going to be making you do that. It's to show to the reader that you did enough research, that what you were saying isn't just a bunch of crap. I just want to point out at the end of this article, we have a list of references here that just goes on and on and on and on. So they've clearly done their research. They have searched all these sources. They've searched all these sources to show that to search for restorative justice in the school to prison pipeline. So good for them. They've certainly done a bunch of reading. And then here, the development of the framework, restorative justice categories. Restorative justice practices have been found to decrease disciplinary actions, improve school attendance and academic achievement, and improve student relationships, student-teacher relationships, and school climate. This framework focuses on a prevention and promotion stage. Each stage presents its own categories and strategies to be developed to address institutional racism and to substantially achieve three outcomes. represented through increasing school performance, academic achievement, school community partnerships. Thereby, this framework proposes that the restorative justice practice in schools can lead to the reduction of institutional racism and thus decrease the overrepresentation of students of color in the disciplinary system and lead to the elimination of the school to prison pipeline by achieving these three outcomes. Awesome. Okay, cool. You can read more here. But what I want to look at is outcomes to reduce racial. So this is the outcomes or the findings or the results. Outcomes to reduce racial and ethnic disproportionality in the school to prison pipeline. I'm just going to read this first paragraph. It has been documented that the implementation of restorative justice practices can have positive results in the reduction of ED practices such as suspensions or expulsions. It can help to improve academic achievement and enable schools and communities to develop better relationships. The Minnesota Department of Education is an example of how, after the implementation of restorative justice practices, such as RCs, peer mediation, and other approaches in 2 of their schools, it was able to reduce suspensions and behavior referrals. I'm going to stop here. This whole section is telling us what they have determined through their reading. And then we've got a conclusion. This framework theorizes that to reduce racial and ethnic disproportionality in the STPP, you'll notice these phrases, by the way, keep getting repeated. That's just fine if you do this in your paper too. It's necessary. You have to be specific in academic writing. 3 strategies and their respective techniques need to be completed. The framework theorizes that blah, 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 blah. For this framework to be successful, I'm just skipping a bit. Improving academic achievement and increasing community involvement are necessary for schools to have positive disciplinary outcomes when implementing RJ practices. Last paragraph. This framework theorizes that intervention and prevention stages are needed to reduce the disproportionality in the number of students of color who are sent to a punishment or intervention stage. RJ is still a punishment and not an alternative to punishment. Therefore, disproportionalities can still be created. This framework is thought to be an inclusive and participatory process that involves the entire school community, from administrators to counselors, families, and the communities served by the schools. Okay. I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a moment here. This study actually looks pretty great. What haven't I read to you? I haven't read any hard numbers. So they have looked at all these academic sources and very likely books. They have read all the literature, well, much of the literature. I don't know to what extent their research is exhaustive. They've searched for all these key terms. They've searched all this literature for all these key terms. And they have come to the conclusion that taking a restorative justice approach would help to prevent the racial disproportion in the school to prison pipeline, which Google it, I guess, but the school to prison pipeline, in short, is a system by which poor students of color wind up getting expelled from school for things that white students don't get expelled for, and then they wind up in prison, which is horrible and completely wrong and needs to be stopped. I think that much is clear. This study is claiming that restorative justice techniques in the school system can help to reduce and or eliminate the school to prison pipeline. Here's what I would have loved. I would have loved some hard numbers, any kind of statistics. First of all, how many students are how many students are impacted by the school to prison pipeline? I mean, how do we measure that? This is, I don't know the answer to that question. This is something that I would like to know. And then of those students, how many of them are poor people of color? And then again, I just want to know what that number is. Like if you look at the documentary 13th, it says that adult Black males represent 6.2% of the nation's population as of the time of the making of that movie. But they also represent something like 40.2% 2% of the incarcerated population in this country. So that's insane. There's just that's an incredible disparity. That how can 6% of our population represent 40% of our incarcerated population unless they're being targeted? I would seriously love for you to answer that question. If there's any other way for that to happen that doesn't involve them being specifically targeted as criminals and locked up, I would love to know what that explanation is. So that's a problem, right? I would love some sort of hard numbers for this academic study to just talk about that, to give us an idea of what the actual pie chart might have looked like, right? And then the other one is they describe all these restorative justice practices, but I would love to know what the before and after numbers were for these schools that they're looking at. They mentioned schools in, I can't remember what state now already, Minnesota maybe. They mentioned these schools that employ restorative justice practices that then reduce the school to prison pipeline. Awesome. Uh, how effective is it? You know, did it reduce the school to prison pipeline by like 3 students, or was it like by, I don't know, was there like a 15% reduction, which would be massive? That would be monumental. And then, like, I would consider that incontrovertible proof that we need to start employing these practices. I think personally, I think we should be doing it anyway, but what I think doesn't matter. What we need is hard data to back up what I think. And this study does not provide me with hard data. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So let's go to the Word doc. Once you found an article, you need to write down the following. Who conducted the study? Where was it conducted? I don't know that they say where it was conducted. Um, so let's see, a very brief summary of the methods. Okay, so Felipe, Donna, Sarah, and Cassandra examined several dozen, maybe hundreds of documents for phrases, actually, comma, looking for phrases such as restorative justice, race, ethnicity, and school to prison pipeline. They determined. So that's one sentence, actually. Let's just look at that. Felipe, Donna, Sarah, and Cassandra examined several dozen, maybe hundreds of documents looking for phrases such as restorative justice, race, ethnicity, and school to prison pipeline. That is one sentence. And what does that do? It tells me who conducted the study. So I'm getting rid of that. Where it was conducted, I don't know where it was conducted, and I don't think the article goes into that kind of detail. I would definitely know if I read every single syllable of this, but I'm not going to do that in this video because neither of us has the time for that. And then a very brief summary of the methods. Okay, well, I've just done that. These are the methods they use. They looked at a whole crap load of text and they were looking for these phrases that they then used to extrapolate some sort of meaning from. What were the findings? That I haven't written yet. Okay, so they found that implementing specific restorative justice practices at the school level that includes the entire community of, I don't know, academics, students, and their families would go a long way toward reducing or possibly eliminating the school to prison pipeline. There, that's what their findings are. So I didn't even need 2 to 3 sentences for that. Done. So, and then we need to evaluate what, okay, a brief evaluation of the study that focuses on the methods used. Were the methods good or were they lacking in some way? What could have been done better? What further research should be done to improve our understanding of the subject? Okay, so I've already said this to you with the screen share off here. I'm just gonna type it out again. As good as this study was, it would have been much stronger if it had been accompanied by actual data showing the results of these restorative justice practices. What could have been done better? Where were they lacking? I think I answered both of those questions with just that one sentence. As good as the study was, it would have been much stronger if it had been accompanied by actual data showing the results of these restorative justice practices. What further research should be done to improve our understanding of this subject? In the future, a study that shows hard numbers for students affected by, I'm just going to write STPP because I'm tired of typing all that shit out. By STPP, and then shows hard numbers for students affected by STP, breaking it down by ethnicity, and then showing the reduction mentioned by this study. I'm going to start this paragraph over just a little bit. As good as this study was, it would have been much stronger if it had been accompanied by actual data showing that, okay, in the future, a study, in the future, comma, it would be excellent for a study that shows hard numbers for students affected by STPP, breaking it down by ethnicity, and then showing the reduction mentioned by this study. Showing the reduction as a result of the methods mentioned in this study. And then period. All right. And then there. Okay, that's it. Assignment done. That is a grand total of 178 words, and 10 of them are that crap. Actually, that's the works or the references page listing. So 43 of these 178 words are all this stuff up here, which means you have to write, I don't know what that word that is, 130-ish words. This is everything I'm looking for this article. And it's everything I'm looking for this assignment. So this is like literally, I don't know. And again, it took me, I'm guessing this video is going to wind up being a half hour long. Obviously, you have to find the article, which took some time from the first video. But this is all you have to do. So again, I know that this assignment seems like a lot. It's actually not looking for a whole lot of your time. What it is asking for is a whole lot of your thinking. I'm asking you to just read the methods and where could it be improved? And if you have, by the way, any of this, like, well, I'm just some student, what's my opinion matter, blah, blah, blah. okay, all of these people were just some students at one point in time, and it doesn't mean they're flawless just because they got their degrees. Your opinion matters. Where could this study be? Who the hell am I? I'm an adjunct at Cal State San Bernardino. I haven't been published in an academic journal. I probably won't ever be. That's because I got my master's in poetry, and academic journals don't publish that. But the point is, I'm just some guy. And I'm saying this study would have been so much stronger if it had been accompanied by actual hard data to back up the points it's making. So, yeah, don't worry about. I've had students in the past say, "Well, who am I to judge? Like, you're you, and that matters, and that should be enough." And it is for me in any case. All right, that's everything I need to say about this assignment. This video is really long, and again, if you wound up scrolling through some of that part where I was just reading shit to you because I was trying to figure out what my opinion. This is the first time I've ever read this article ever. So I apologize for that, but it had to be done because this is the only accurate way to show you how to do this. I'm going to stop talking now. I'll talk to you in class on Friday. Bye.